we want to talk about this story for you. President Trump bringing a new culture of reform to the federal bureaucracy. It goes beyond cutting red tape. He's now making it easier to reform the federal workforce. He's trying to bring in merit pay bonuses and merit raises, ending automatic pay hikes that kick in even if federal workers underperform, also changing retirement benefits as well. He's also continuing his push on infrastructure and immigration reform. Let's bring in Republican Representative Doug Collins. Congressman, what do you think of President Trump right now with his remarks right now at the White House honoring the civil rights movement right there?
Well, I think it was just another powerful example of the president using what the president can do best, and that's expressed just from a heart of gratitude. And you just saw as he spoke there, talking about those accomplishments. That's what the president can do. That's just the president being the president. And I'm proud to see that event going on. It's highlighting Black History Month. It's highlighting some really good stuff, and he does so with a passion that I think is contagious. I was just out in Pennsylvania at that special election, and people were coming up to me talking about how they appreciate the president, feeling like he listens to them, and I think it just boils over into a lot of things that he's saying.
You know what else he's doing? He's looking at the size of federal government. These are tough calls to make, what's going on in Washington. He's continuing to downsize the federal government and pushing forward on things like infrastructure and trade reform. So we're seeing, too, Congressman, that under the new tax cut regime, also the federal government collected record taxes in its first month. So to your point, there are a lot of changes happening in Washington right now.
There are. I mean, we see that a lot in January, and I think what we're going to see as it goes forward in our tax revenues, you're going to see new business. You're going to see an increase. You're going to see businesses doing exactly what this plan has talked about. You and I have talked about this a lot, where, we're seeing people getting money in their pocket. Where, I've heard stories just recently, what did you do with your money that, like the company gave? Some were $500, $1,000. I've heard people talk about paying off, credit card debt, paying off Christmas debt. I heard one talk about going on a honeymoon, one going on a vacation. And the comment back that I've received and I've heard other members receive is they said thank you to President Trump. They said thank you to Congress for actually listening and understanding that $500, $1,000 these companies are doing, but also increasing job employment. They're increasing work lines. I've got two companies in a company in my district that are actually looking to increase their lines, so they'll actually be hiring people. For people who don't have a good job right now, or they want to get to a job in which they can pay for their children, their families, and their dreams and hopes and ambitions, this is the kind of stuff that makes people understand that government is actually fighting for them and not fighting against them. And when you look at the biggest issue we've got, and that is a federal government that over the past, even 8 to 20 years has grown to the point to where it's just, inside the Beltway is really nice, but it doesn't reflect the districts that I represent and many of the others represent in Congress. There's got to be a balance here. And I think when you take and put the government on the diet, then people can actually respond as well.
Yeah, downsizing federal government. The president is on that. Let's get to the waste, fraud, and abuse and entitlements. Now, to welfare reform. This is a tough call because this is about so-called compassionate conservatism. We had our founding father, Ben Franklin, all the way through FDR saying people should not stay on welfare, that they need to work. It's better for the soul. But we do have the seriously poor individuals and families out there who do need help. The Trump administration now proposing to replace nearly half of poor Americans' monthly cash benefits with a box of food, affecting more than 16 million households who would have half their welfare benefits go toward the food box program. So an effort to save nearly $130 billion over 10 years. Okay, Congressman, the White House calling this a blue apron-style overhaul, but critics say, wait a minute, it's not fresh food, it's non-perishables. And what if the poor don't have cars to pick up the boxes? There's some criticism coming out about this.
Well, look, let's take it in this way. Those who want to disagree with this administration will come up with everything from, any excuse, even, reverting to hyperbole to make it sound bad. What they're actually saying is let's look at a program and make sure, number one, like Mick Mulvaney said and the White House said, let's make sure, number one, that the folks who need help get good, fresh food that we can have. Now, the boxes are not the fresh, but there's got to be a balance. Our Ag Committee in the House, and I know the Senate, are going to be marking up the Farm Bill where this is actually in that part of the legislation. And there needs to be reforms in there so that we can help those who need help, but also provide that incentive so that we can find the workforce that we need, which is something that, we need to talk a lot more about, because right now with the economy growing, we need people off of assistance and into workforce, and we need to give them the training to be able to do that. Yeah. That's not just a compassionate conservative, that's just smart common sense. sense. And I think the president understands that. So when they come up with new ways to deliver assistance, let's not take that and say what all we think is bad about it. I mean, the left has a real bad time about that. If they don't want something, they just say it's bad. Let's look at the idea and say, how can we do it better, and make sure that we are helping and at the same time giving them a help out so that they can find their own food and also begin to help.